Hello world, this is Will Sullivan with the US Web Design Standards team. We're presenting our work from the past 2-week sprint, our Milk Chocolate Day sprint. This is a bi-weekly demo that we do to show the work that we're completing and collecting information, doing research, upgrading, and supporting the US Web Design Standards. These are recorded on YouTube, so you can go back and rewatch them as you'd like in the past and the future. This will be a playlist that you can see our previous demo, and we'll continue to add more and more demos to that list so you can keep up with what we're working on. And with that, we will jump into the demo, and I'll have Atul discuss his accessibility testing work. And there's also a link. Well, he'll explain it. Sorry, go ahead.
Hey, yeah, so we are now using a really great open source tool called Axe to do some accessibility testing on our on the Fractal components that are in the US Web Design Standards. Axe is a really great tool by Deek or DQ Systems, I'm not actually sure how to pronounce it, whose mission is to have 0 false positives when doing accessibility testing, which is really important for us because we want to be able to run these tests on every single time we make any changes to the standards. And it would be unfortunate if they gave lots of false positives, because then it would probably result in just ignoring the tests. And they've already helped us find some accessibility problems in the standards, such as on some on mobile devices, I believe the search buttons did not have screen reader visible text on them, and a few color contrast issues, which we fixed. And yeah, like I said, the really great thing is that this is running every single time we make changes to the standards, so it'll really do a lot to help ensure that the standards stay nice and accessible as they continue to evolve. Rob Dodson from Google made a really great video about Axe and how you can use it on your own projects if you want. It's definitely a tool that I recommend for any kind of website work that you want to ensure stays accessible. So we'll put the link to that video in the description for this YouTube video. So yeah, that's about it for that one. Can you move to the next slide now, Will? Thanks. So the other thing, oh shoot, do you think you could actually reload the page, because I added a slide that should be in there? Yeah, slide number 3. Just loading that. Sorry about that. Just added it at like the last second.
Yeah, we'll make sure you're presenting too. I don't know if it currently is, because then otherwise it's just showing Atul's face when he talks.
Oh,
good point. This should be our pilot episode. The first one was so much better.
There we go. Got it.
Cool. Yeah, so then, yeah, you can see in that screenshot. Okay, yeah. So, so for the visual regressions, yeah, unfortunately, these visual regressions happen. We actually just found out about one that's in version 1.3.0. That this is a screenshot of that Maya Binari found for us, where something that we fixed and one aspect of the standards unfortunately broke this thing here where you can see the nav bar. The nav bar is a little bit too tall now. And so those things are really hard to spot. And so we did a little bit of exploration this sprint in trying to develop some tooling that'll help us find when these kinds of breakages occur. Can you go to the next slide now? Thanks. So this is a screenshot from a tool that we're working on, where the idea is that you can basically take screenshots, automated screenshots of all of the different Fractal components at different mobile and desktop sizes. We call those like the golden screenshots. And then you can make any changes that you want to your CSS. In the case of this particular screenshot of the tool here, I basically just added like an outline of 4 pixels, like a black outline of 4 pixels to the radio button CSS. I mean, obviously, it's not something that we would intentionally do, but this is just to demo how this tool works. So you can see that on the left-hand side of this screenshot is a screenshot, like the golden screenshot of what the radio buttons look like normally. And then the middle one is the 4-pixel black outline that I added through CSS. And then the one on the right is what's called a visual diff. It's kind of like the idea of a code diff, like showing what differences happen in code, except it's what differences are there in this image, where basically it's just highlighting any pixels that have changed in pink or purple, whatever that is. And so, yeah, it's basically just noticed, hey, like those pixels that are around the radio buttons have changed, so I'm going to make them purple. And so hopefully this will, especially because we'll be running it across all of the different Fractal components at different viewport sizes and device dimensions, hopefully this should be help us a lot in finding these kinds of visual regressions before we ship out, new versions of the standards. So that's it for me.
Excellent. And we're going to toss to John, who's going to share a screen, I believe.
Yes.
And make you the presenter.
Cool. All right. Let me dig up my screen here. Great. So yeah, we did some more work this week on, if you've been following along, we've recently introduced the Fractal site, and that allows us to create this site here where we can list every component that is a part of the standards and kind of document these individually, which is great for developers who want, a little bit more detail on the possibilities of the components, things like that. But something that we noticed recently was that we were starting to get out of sync with our code samples that are included here and the code samples that are in our repo. So they were kind of in different places. If we wanted to update these code samples, like if someone discovered, this is actually a good example because some of these have type button and some don't have type, the button type set. So that might be something that we need to fix. And historically, we would have to fix that here in the Fractal code samples and then also on the doc site, which is this code down here. So some of the work that we started doing this week is to start linking these systems together. And with the idea being that the code samples that exist in the Fractal site, which is the web-design-standards repo, are going to be the one source of truth going forward. And the code samples that you see here on the doc site will actually be representations of chunks of the code from the code samples in Fractal. So I don't have an example of what that looks like now because it's just, some code that exists that's still kind of being worked on, but essentially there will be these template tags that we can then use in our Jekyll site to include the code samples that we want when we're building this site out. And another thing that happened on this page is we're trying to link these two systems up in a different way. So going forward, we're looking to kind of make this web design standards doc site to be more of a showcase of like the best parts of the standards, maybe trim it down a bit and not show, 27 different buttons here, just kind of enough to get the gist of what exactly are the tools at your disposal. And then for the folks that want more detail, then they can kind of click a link like this to actually jump off to the component site to get more detail. We might start fleshing this out with more implementation details, things like that. So that's kind of a direction we're going to try out going forward and see how that goes. Yeah, so this has been a sprint of conjoining these two systems and it will be work that we continue over the next couple sprints off and on as we sort of piece this together. But the initial goal was to just kind of get this working with one or two components first, merge that in, and then we can keep going forward and show some more things as we get time to work on them. And I will pass back to you, Will.
Great. So that will conclude our demo. Our next demo will be on Friday, August 11th. Stay tuned to the standards.usa.gov for more of our work, or join us in the Slack channel. We had a very fun AMA, Ask Me Anything, on Friday, this past Friday, that y'all can go and check out all the threads and discussion that happened. Or you can just join us in general at chat.18f.gov and ask questions in the Slack channel, talk to other people who are using the standards. It's a good old time. I think there's over 285 people now. Wow, that's awesome. Or you can contact us directly at uswebdesignstandards@gsa.gov. Hopefully that is long enough that spam robots won't be able to type that much. But if you have questions directly, you can contact us there. And we will see you in a couple weeks. Thanks.